Hey there, Ride the Car Guy here, and today we have a pretty exciting episode lined up for you. Today we are actually going to get Janice to not only start, but to actually drive, move down the road on her own. And we're going to do that by fixing the hydraulics for the clutch. If you remember way back in episode 1, Jordan said he stopped driving this car because he pushed on the clutch pedal one time and something snapped or popped and boom, the clutch pedal went straight to the floor. I consider that to be pretty fortunate because that just indicates that the master cylinder, the slave cylinder, or something in between has ruptured, and so there's no more pressure in the line. That's going to be a heck of a lot easier to deal with than the actual clutch itself, which it would involve actually taking the transmission out of the vehicle. And on this particular vehicle, the slave cylinder down on the transmission is mounted on the outside of the bell housing. What a concept. And it just hits a little lever, like a fork, that pushes the clutch out. All those parts are accessible and they're cheap. So what I did is just order them online. And while they're on their way, we're gonna take out the existing parts and just check them out. So let's go do that. So looking at the clutch pedal itself, as you can see, it just moves freely. There's absolutely no pressure at all. So we're gonna start by taking out the master cylinder. We're gonna have to take a little pin out that connects to the clutch pedal itself, and then hopefully just 2 simple bolts and a couple hose lines inside the engine bay, and then the whole thing should come right out. So there's a pin up here, and this is the clutch pedal, as you can see here. And there is just a little pin up that holds the, I guess, the sort of piston inside the master cylinder, and it holds it in. So we're just gonna take that off first, and then we should just be able to unbolt the master, go under the engine bay and pull it out. Ooh, nice. So here's our little cotter pin. We just pulled that out, and now the pin that holds this in should pop right out. Just like that. There you go. So now that both of those are out, this is gonna sit freely, and this piston should pop off. Hold on. Excellent. So now the clutch pedal is fully disconnected from the master cylinder. So you may be able to see it up here. There's one nut on the inside, one nut in the engine bay, and of course the hoses that run down to the slave cylinder. Since I'm down here, I'm gonna take the one out from in here, and then we'll go to the engine bay and complete the rest. So now that we have the actual clutch pedal disengaged and we have the nut from underneath that taken out, the rest is done in the engine bay. So all we need to do here is we need to cinch off the line coming from the brake fluid reservoir and take off the hard line that connects, of course, the master to the slave cylinder. Once both of those are disconnected, we just take the nut off from the master cylinder inside the engine bay and pull the assembly out. So we took out the master cylinder, and right away, check this out. That is not how it should be. So this is what would be connected to the clutch pedal. And then of course you have a little cylinder in here that pushes the hydraulic fluid to the slave cylinder. So we're gonna keep going anyways because we have all the parts, and we're just gonna swap them all out so we know that they're good. But I think this is the problem. Now, like I said, luckily, the slave cylinder is actually mounted on the outside of the transmission, and then it just has this little arm here, and it pushes into the arm to then push on the clutch inside the transmission. So here's our hydraulic line. We need to pop this off. Once we take this off, I just have, again, 2 bolts at the top that's holding this in. I also have a drain pan underneath, just in case, because obviously there's some fluid in here. So I wanna make sure that that doesn't get all over the garage floor. So slight change of plans. I'm actually going to work on the other side of the flex hose because the hose on the side of the actual slave cylinder is kind of stripping out, but we're replacing this hose anyways. So I'm going to come over here to the side where the hard line goes into the flex hose and disconnect that. Then when I disconnect the slave cylinder from the side of the transmission, it'll just come off as an assembly. So that was actually incredibly easy to get that out on the other side. So we're just gonna, of course, trash this flex line, which we were gonna do anyways. So now we just need to take these top 2 bolts out and pull this off. So it's been a little while, but I'm excited to say we have all the parts that we need here and in the shop. On the left, we have our thoroughly thrashed slave cylinder. On the right, we have our master. All we need to do to prep these is to get the new hose that we had to purchase. This is actually the one we were waiting on. We had our cylinders here for a while, but this sucker took forever to get here. I just have to connect this one in to the slave cylinder. Obviously get it as tight as I can while it's off the vehicle, but then do the final tightening once we have it hooked up to the side of the transmission. On the master, all we need to do is take this hose, get it on the inlet pipe here, and get it ready to hook up to the brake fluid reservoir. I'm also going to adjust this. This is a little connector that connects to the actual clutch pedal. And I'm just going to set it as close as I can to the original setting. And then once we get it installed, if we need to make adjustments, we should be able to, but I'd rather get it finished outside the vehicle because it's probably going to be a huge pain in the butt to get to the back of this once it's installed. All right, these are all prepped, so now all I have to do is just effectively the opposite of what I did to take them out. Throw them back in, get everything connected, and then we just have to get fluid into it, bleed them out, and hopefully everything works just fine. Let's go do that. So we have everything installed. I put the slave on the side of the transmission, installed the master, hooked it to the clutch pedal, and Jordan and I bled everything. So all that's left to do is to roll this sucker out and try to drive it. All right. Now, here's the moment of truth. Does it go into gear? Ooh! Hold up. Sounds like shit. We did it. So that was definitely a success. Jordan was able to drive it, it runs, it actually moves under its own power. The shifting is a bit sloppy, but the clutch works, and I consider that a success. So there's only one more episode left. We're gonna do a little bit to the interior, and then we're gonna head back out to the boonies and have some fun out in the field. So if you wanna follow along, make sure you subscribe, like this video if you liked it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.